Check 1, 2, I say. Check 1, 2. We are live. Well, I guess it hasn't been so long since I last saw you guys, since I released the stream yesterday. If you're wondering why my voice sounds the way it does, I went to a concert not even a few hours ago, and my voice is hoarse. I feel like I belong on a ranch or something because of how hoarse my voice is. But I will have a quick short stream today, just kind of getting into that consistency of uploading videos and continually doing streams. I have something interesting on the title block now. I guess not title block, the screen. It's the S&P 500 price, SPY's price, as we just saw a slight uptick there. We had the dead cat bounce today. I was surprised the markets were open today, to be honest. I thought, because of Columbus Day, the markets would be closed. But I don't say sadly, but they were open. They opened green, hence the dead cat bounce. But now I think the markets are going to tumble once again. So we shall see how that projection goes. You can see that already as the clock passed midnight on the East Coast of the United States. The market's just tumbled from, I think, like 662 all the way down to 660, where it's residing right now. So we shall see how that holds up once the markets open up again tomorrow morning. So yeah, that's the way of the economy right now. I guess another thing that I had said was that I went to a concert, and it was a great time. I went to see Marianas Trench. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with that band, but I kind of grew up on that band. Found them out in like 2015, 2016 with their like hit single Cross My Heart and I Hope to Die, and just was hooked when I heard that song. So was a massive fan, was always a massive fan of this band, but just actually seeing them live was quite the experience. I love when Josh Ramsey actually like entered the pit and I had pit seats, and it was incredible. Also, there was like a little kid next to me with like headphones on, and Josh Ramsey, when he did his pit dive, he went straight to the kid with the headphones, so that was very cute, very adorable moment. But yeah, incredible show. It's always fascinates me how well the artists put together a concert, because of all the logistics and touring and moving sets from venue to venue, and they do it like every single day. It always impresses me, the quality of show, and then how do their voices not go? I went to the concert and now my voice is dead, and they have to do it day in, day out. Honestly, props to them. Props to their vocal coaches to keep their voice in like tip-top shape to do these shows and do these tours. I don't know how they can do it. Like, I can't even sing. I sound like a dying walrus when I try to sing. I took like choir back in middle school, and I was considered the bass in the class. I had the deep enough voice, but I could not hit like a single note. So yeah, I basically was the quiet one in choir. So that's my musical experience. I think the opening acts for Marianas Trench were, oh goodness, I'm gonna forget the first band's name, but they were such a fun little vibey band. Their songs were fun to sing along to. They had us, the crowd, yell "obsessed" when they basically gave us the microphone. And then the second band was the Somerset. And the Somerset, they were so big back in the day. And then I think they're just now releasing a new album. And so with that new album, they're back on tour. But it was great to hear the old classics from the Somerset. It was just a vibe. Nothing more I can say about that. It was a good night, good night. I guess what else have I been doing in the meantime? I'm prepping for my 5K over the weekend. I ran a 5K earlier today, and went so poorly. I think I pulled my groin in the process, so I kind of hobbled to the end of the 5K. I think I did it in like 45 minutes, which is not great, especially since when I ran the 5K with 12 hours notice, I was able to do it in like 38 minutes. So we'll see how Saturday goes on the 5K front. Goodness, I actually am incredibly tired. You can tell that concert took like a lot out of me. And then another thing that I have been doing is I was cooking today. I was trying to make some pumpkin soup, but I did not quite get to finish making said pumpkin soup because of just I ran out of time before I had to like skedaddle over to the concert. So I made like half of it. I made way too much for one pot, so I'm gonna have to kind of split those into two separate pots and like finish off the cooking process. But I make pumpkin soup every year for spooky season. Again, gets me in the warm, cozy autumn vibes. But it's so hot here. Like the temperature hasn't dropped below 90 Fahrenheit. That's a lie. It's like in the high 80s Fahrenheit, which is still unbearable for this time of year. Goodness, I'm going to be yawning quite a bit, aren't I, for this stream? So I will keep it a shorter stream. I don't think I'll go for the full hour, but I'll keep it entertaining enough, or just keep myself yapping enough for long enough until I feel like I've had a satisfied stream. Potentially need a stream schedule if I want to make this a regular thing. I also think that if I do stream, I think I'm going to have to kind of think of like topics and things that are interesting in nature to stream, because it's fun and fine and all to yap, because everyone loves a good yap. But I think the purpose of a stream is to find like some sort of entertainment value, and I don't know if I'm providing that to anybody. I'm just speaking in a stream of consciousness, only following what my brain outputs in that respect. So I don't really know where I could go with this. That kind of rhymed. I don't know where I could go. Go. It's always a fun time. Maybe I am getting delirious because it is quite late tonight, and then I've got work tomorrow because didn't have work today because of good old Christopher Columbus sailing the ocean blue back in 1492. I know the rename of the holiday is Indigenous Peoples Day because of Christopher Columbus's poor treatment of the natives, but I don't know. I think Christopher Columbus provided a significant contribution to the European world, the European zeitgeist, in finding the American continent. Although, the argument is, the Vikings found the American continent before Christopher Columbus, kind of stealing his valor, but the Vikings found the American continent but didn't really utilize or fundamentally utilize it. Whereas Columbus, when he did land in the Americas, it was the actual opening of the gateway into a, excuse my Disney pun, but whole new world for the Europeans. And so that kind of made American, Canadian, Latin American civilization what it is today, because everyone talks about like America being home to the natives prior to the settlement of the European colonists, but they don't refer to themselves as American, right? They refer to themselves as Cherokee and Navajo, and that's a more appropriate description, because that is the culture and the custom and nation that rules those people, right? They are Navajo, ruled by the Navajo tribe. They are Cherokee, ruled by the Cherokee tribe. And so before the Europeans came to the colonies, these tribes were what they call themselves. They called themselves Cherokee, Chippewa, and whatever. Cherokee, Navajo, Chippewa, whatever. So it's always funny to see when people are like, hey, America was founded on stolen land, which is not necessarily the case because America was never a country before the Europeans showed up. It was, Cherokee land or Navajo land, but never American land. But that's kind of how conquest occurred during that time period. And maybe the moral fixation of today's morality to a time period where it doesn't apply back then is not appropriate for we're looking at history through rose-tinted glasses from where we are. We see the outcome, we see the consequence of that, and that's what we view it as. Whereas, the South American, I should say the Spanish way of colonization in South America was actually to interbreed with the native population and form a new people, a new identity. And so it is wiping out the native traditions in those nations as well, but it's intermingling them to create something new. And some people view that as a positive from the Latin American side, but also some people view that as a negative. You're just basically erasing the culture entirely, whereas in the American front, we have the reservations. We still keep that part of the culture alive. We didn't breed out the Native Americans as the Spanish colonists did. Why do I get so political? I don't know. Maybe I just think about spicy takes, and it is Columbus Day after all, so it's something that was on my mind. Also Canadian Thanksgiving, which I always find funny because it seems like a very American holiday in terms of the lore of Thanksgiving, right? We had the settlers on the Mayflower, the Puritans, meet with the natives and have the one meal together. That's like the American mythos in that front, and I don't know enough Canadian history to show why Canadian Thanksgiving is entirely a unique and different thing than the American mythos, but it feels like it is a kind of copycat holiday on the American mythos. Canada, had the similar history and past with the natives, but they, from what I know, the Canadian settlers never had a Thanksgiving meal with the white settlers that settled in the Canadian territory. But goodness, that's my thoughts on Columbus Day. I also saw fireworks on my drive home for Columbus Day, which I thought was peculiar because you wouldn't think of fireworks on a holiday such as this one. You would think of fireworks on something like New Year's or 4th of July or somewhere else. But yeah, that was unique and interesting for me to see. I don't know if any of you guys lit any fireworks for Columbus Day, but if you have, you can always put it in the chat. I see the market's dipping even farther. We're down to 660 on the dot, which is not good if you're holding calls. If you're holding puts, this is great. But again, it's just very, very early in terms of market sentiment because the market hasn't even opened. And so we'll see a lot more moves when the market does open. I would assume the market would want to bounce back, since the market's generally inflationary. We've got, people just putting in money regularly into the market. So that has that general inflationary pressure to increase the price. And so these crashes themselves aren't going to last for too long. I heard an interesting argument a while ago, and I might not be able to do this argument justice, but here we go. Um, the argument was, as Americans invested into like the S&P 500, they were being told, hey, this is a diversified investment. It will protect you for against general market downturns. It would protect you against having putting all your eggs in one basket, right? Imagine you buy like 100 shares of Apple and Apple goes to zero. You're fucked. But if you put 100, have that equivalent amount, 100 shares amount in the market, obviously the market's never going to go to zero because, well, if the market actually ever does go to zero, we've got bigger problems. But yeah, the market's never actually going to go to zero. And so you were always diversified because you were investing in tech and energy and biomed and pharmaceutical. But now the S&P 500 is, kind of forming a hierarchical structure with the top 7 companies, the Mag 7, taking up more and more of, the quantity in the S&P 500. Although there are 500 companies still listed within the S&P 500, the weighting of the companies is shifting more and more to that top 7. And as it shifts more and more to that top 7, the less diversified you become. And since most of the top 7 are all in tech, if there is something that goes sour with the tech sector, the market goes sour. And so you're not really diversified. And that's the argument. It's compelling. It's very compelling, but I don't know. I don't know if it's better or worse by making your own S&P 500. I'm putting air quotes up. You to make your own S&P 500 and weight all the companies however you like. I doubt that's gonna be effective as the currently SPY is, because the top 7 companies have been so successful. They've been a pseudo monopoly, an oligopoly, I should say. They've really consolidated power in those 7 companies. So they are the market movers. So we shall see. We shall see how that unfolds. And then also with Social Security going away in the American context, right? Basically speaking to the Americans in the audience here, with Social Security being heading toward insolvency. And as it heads toward insolvency, more and more people, more and more retirees rely on something like the S&P 500 to maintain their retirement wealth. And so that shows the problem there. If, we're investing in the top 7 companies, we're not really diversifying. And so if anything shocks those 7 companies in particular, because they're all within the same tech sector, hundreds of thousands of, Americans' retirement funds will go up in smoke. But that's just a thought. I'm just some guy on the internet that you should not trust for financial advice whatsoever. Yeah. I think I might just call it here. My throat is dead beyond belief. I'm exhausted. I've got work early tomorrow morning, so I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be fun. As a job always is. And it's I feel like a lot of people now don't view their jobs as fulfilling, which I guess it's understandable. I think a lot of jobs are menial and tedious, but I also think that the mindset and mentality that you take going into work will dictate how you feel about your job. If you're always going into work miserable and wanting a holiday, you're not going to enjoy the work that you do. I think you're going to have to actually physically try and change your mindset to enjoy what you're doing, because most people do have interesting jobs. Um, I don't want to say like the day to day can be very boring, but um, goodness, the the overall scheme or the overall thought process. I don't want to say scheme or thought process. The overarching, um, goodness, my brain is actually not functioning right now. The overarching goal of said job might be a lot more interesting than you think. Like the amount of people who ask me what I do and then I explain it to them and they're like, "Wow, that's really cool." Um, yeah, that's but on the day to day, I'm like, "Oh, it's a job. It's a job that I do. It's nothing more than that. I still enjoy what I do, but I'm trying to find more enjoyment in what I do because of that mindset switch. But I think a lot of people need to take a step back and like appreciate the work that they do have. And I know we're kind of heading toward like a market downturn. I see SPY has slightly arisen, but that's not really gonna affect anything. But I think people need to take stock and be grateful for what they have. I really think a lot of things people are not as grateful as they should be. But maybe that's just me preaching to a soapbox. All right, I think I'm gonna call it. 21-minute stream, a shorter stream than normal. I say normal. I've only done one stream, so like the aggregate of the two streams is probably like around 40 minutes. But yeah, I'm gonna call it. I'm exhausted. My voice is like fucked beyond belief. I'm surprised my computer is not scorching, but hey ho, here we go. And yeah, take care, everyone. I'm glad for anyone who was able to tune in. I know it's quite a late hour, especially if you live in the United States. If you're on the European continent, then this this time is probably like super, super, super early for you guys. But yeah, take care, everyone, and enjoy the remaining seconds of your Monday before it turns into Tuesday. All right. Good night.